Poverty is a capability deficit that is a result of a person's monetary deficit. This is a relationship between a subjective concept with concrete measurement. Capabilities encompass a myriad of opportunities and actions a person could achieve. A person's financial well-being is an external context that has the potential to limit what they could do, therefore causing a capability deficit.
In order to use this definition of poverty, we must first articulate what a capability deficit entails. Martha Nussbaum defines a capability as the totality of the opportunities a person has for choice and action in his or her specific political, social, and economic situation. Additionally, each person has a set of combined capabilities that include his or her internal capabilities examined through the external context. A person's internal capabilities are the trained or developed traits and abilities developed in interaction with their environment. However, capability deficits arise when external contexts prohibit people's access to the opportunity to function in accordance with their internal capabilities. For example, a young woman who has developed her intellect through reading and homeschooling may not have financial access to a formal college education. Therefore, her external context hinders her internal capabilities. Separate from internal capabilities, each one of us has basic capabilities, or the innate powers within us that are either nurtured to fruition or left to dissipate. Our functionings are the active realizations of capabilities, the actual beings and doings that are our outgrowths of our capabilities.
The official poverty measure, or OPM, is an absolute quantitative measurement which attempts to create a basic needs standard and remains relatively constant over time. Originally constructed in 1963 by Molly Orshansky, the OPM is based on the Department of Agriculture's Economy Food Plan, which summed up the prices of certain amounts of food deemed necessary for low-income families to meet their nutritional needs. This amount was then multiplied by 3 because research showed low-income families spent about one-third of their income on food. Other than annual inflation indexing and other minor changes, there have been very few changes in the poverty thresholds since the mid-1960s. In the 1990s, concerns about the adequacy of the OPM caused the National Academy of Sciences to launch an independent scientific study. The experts behind this project recommended having a measure that better reflects modern social and economic realities and government policy, which led to the formation of the Supplemental Poverty Measurement, or SPM. To measure the SPM, you take the 33rd percentile of expenditures on food, clothing, shelter, and utilities of consumers with 2 children and multiply that number by 1.2.
The pros of the OPM are that it is easy to measure because it only measures a basic threshold of poverty. It also is the current U.S. poverty measurement, so any extra money, legislation, or other resources would not be needed to put a new measurement in place. However, the cons of the OPM are that it is only based on a gross annual pre-tax or GAPT income and does not consider any other in-kind or near-cash benefits that a family or individual may be receiving. Also, it only considers a traditional family of a mother, a father, and children as a household eligible for receiving benefits. It was also created and established in 1963 based on the idea of approximately one-third of total income spent on food in 1963, when the current average household spends approximately one-sixth of its total income on food. The pros of the SPM are that it accounts for many things that the OPM does not, including non-discretionary expenses such as childcare and work transportation costs. It also accounts for the geographical area in which a person lives and how that influences their economic situation. Also, it takes into consideration the living situation of a total household, not just a single family, but everyone inside a home. The SPM is also more flexible than the OPM in terms of the changing standards of living in the U.S. and reflects government benefits such as EITC and SNAP to families and individuals. It also accounts for medical out-of-pocket expenses. Cons of the SPM are that it would cost an estimated $7.5 million to calculate its threshold, and it's based on the OPM. And if the SPM replaces the OPM, then there would have to be something put in place to account for losses generated by the SPM. It also does not count for non-basic utilities that are a part of the living expenses of those in poverty and the violation of capabilities for a dignified life.
Our definition of poverty, a capability deficit that is a result of a person's monetary deficit, includes all capabilities, not just those that allow for people to get by. Therefore, we adhere to Iceland's definition of poverty, a comparative economic deprivation that prevents people from participating adequately in social organizations and relationships, and are thus incapable of fully participating in society. Nussbaum's 10 central capabilities encompass the human rights that lead to a dignified life, bodily health, bodily integrity, senses, imagination and thought and emotions, practical reason, affiliation, other species, play, and control over one's environment. We believe in the defense of these capabilities, and that failure to gain access to one of them due to financial well-being is a reason to believe this person is impoverished by our definition. However, a central argument against the capability approach is the inability to measure an idea as subjective as this. To that, we would respond, why does measurement of capabilities have to involve a numerical or objective scale of some type? Nussbaum briefly mentions an analogy that offers a solution. We are, in fact, very familiar with qualitative styles of measurement. When the U.S. Supreme Court asks whether a given law violates First Amendment rights, the judges do not use a numerical scale to make their decision. Instead, they consult the Constitution, their own judgment, and other pertinent historical and social material. After the court reaches its decision, it seems correct to say that the court has decided whether a given policy puts some citizens beneath an acceptable threshold. We suggest a similar measurement of Nussbaum's 10 capabilities, and we encourage people to move away from the dependency on quantitative measurement.
Although the system proposed on the previous slide would encompass human dignities into poverty and accurately support our definition of poverty, to adopt a new legal document and establish some sort of ruling body seems impractical. Therefore, we support the more encompassing and modern SPM over the OPM, with the hope that certain capabilities can be incorporated into the SPM. We understand the poverty measurement must be practical to truly implement it, but we hope the government will still strive to provide resources so that more people have access to all of their central capabilities, not just those related to food, shelter, clothes, and utilities. For example, if a community does not have a playground and lacks the resources to build one, the children lack the play capability. We implore the government agencies to be more conscious of these kinds of situations and hopefully provide the means to allow for access to all capabilities.